Okay, welcome to our LinkedIn Live audience, our YouTube live streaming audience, and of course everyone here on the WebEx live application. And I'm here with Bill Bailey, who is an expert in cybersecurity, and he'll be helping us go through our live look at the Cybersecurity Bootcamp offered with the University of California, Irvine, UCI, and their Division of Continuing Education. So I'll let Bill introduce himself and then we'll go into the agenda.
Well, thank you for having me today. It's and of course I'm sitting here looking outside. I wish I was on a beach, but I'm not on a beach today. I have over 20 years of experience in information security, privacy, and risk. I'm involved with ISACA, ISSA chapters on the boards. And over my years of experience, today someone said, "What's your experience? What's your background?" And I said, "Well, I started on the technology field, and then I said, well, let's get a job in finance. Then I found myself in healthcare, and then I found myself supporting retail, utility sectors. Been a consultant, travel around the country, been around the world." And I've actually been teaching. I don't know how many years. We've passed, I think, 20 a couple years ago, so it's hard to count now. And so it's great. Set information security policy for a financial institution. And actually, at that time, I was part of. They had the ISACs, and so I've always been involved with those ISACs as well. And you really learn a lot in all of those programs.
Great. Thank you for being here, Bill. My name is Stuart Creek, by the way, and I'm a marketing manager with Simplilearn, and Simplilearn supports the UCI program by providing the learning platform. And we'll talk about that in a bit. We'll talk about the cybersecurity career field, why it's so important, why it's so quickly growing, and why it offers you so much opportunity. And we'll talk about then what this program offers you by way of getting into the cybersecurity field. And Bill will help describe how the program gets you job ready for that field. We'll talk about enrollment steps, have a Q&A toward the end of the session. So along the way, as you get questions, as questions pop up in your mind, please put them in the Q&A box for people who are here on WebEx. And if you are on our streaming service, put it in the comments or chat of that service so that we can take a look at those questions. Let's start off by talking about careers in cybersecurity and the cybersecurity field itself. So a couple of quotes here from PricewaterhouseCoopers, and they highlight the challenges of cybersecurity. So the first quote talks about the challenge of securing systems and how difficult that is and how much work is left to be done. Half or more of the CIOs and corporate information security officers say they haven't fully secured their systems, mitigated the risks that are associated with all the changes we've had in the last couple of years towards remote work from home, um, migration to the cloud. Our world has changed a great deal since the pandemic. Much of what we do that we used to do in person, we now do virtually, which means that the quote unquote threat surface for cybersecurity attacks is much, much greater. And that's left businesses scrambling. Has that been your experience, Bill, in working with your clients?
Oh, that's an understatement. Back what was it, March of 2020? Uh, March 17th, just the mad rush. How do we do this?
Yeah.
Just to get everything done, and it was business is the driver. That's why technology exists. And then, of course, March of 2020, it went out the window. to get the job done. And we're still finding it's a challenge to bring security back in or to rein it in. Absolutely, it's still an issue.
Um, just on the point of the transition that happened in March of 2020, I remember going to a webinar on from some venture capital firms in Silicon Valley are talking about the changes. And one executive said, you know, if our management had told us that we had to uh, transfer everybody to work from home, we would have told them it would take 6 months and cost $10 million. And when it happened, it took us 3 days with zero budget. But the flip side of that is in 3 days with zero budget, you really don't have time to think about how you make all of those home computers secure. And so that's left this hangover of security. The second quote talks about the just general growth of digital technology in our world and how much it affects our world. Uh, so much more of what we do is mobile. We tend not to expect, in some countries, we don't expect to go to a physical bank anymore. We expect to do transactions and banking on our mobile phone. We are in many countries using our mobile as our payment form instead of a physical credit card. Um, so the mobile has become a much more integral part of our lives. And corollary to that is the Internet of Things, where many more things, objects, systems, places that we interact with in the world uh, have some digital enablement technology. So all of that again increases that threat surface, and it also increases the amount of data that's coming. And struggle to deal with all of the data and the data streams and creates the struggle to secure all of those touch points and data streams so that they can't be used against you. And as the survey said, um, the executives that were surveyed believe that cyber criminals are more dangerous than actual nation states who are trying to conduct a cyber warfare campaign. Um, because cyber criminals are so much more numerous and so much more intent on stealing from us. Um, Nation states sometimes have to think twice before they start a cyber war. So, um, again, Bill, how what would your views be on that aspect of the problem?
Well, I think the cyber criminals they learn from the nation states. So yeah, it's and that's the scariest thing is now, oh, the nation state did this. Yeah, wait a minute, we can do that too, right? There's a toolkit, and you're not a script kiddie, but yeah, it takes some work to do it. But now you want to attack an organization, the tools are out there. And the it's already been published. Oh well, XYZ company was breached by XYZ method, and now you can go do that wherever you want. And that whole notion of the mobile and Internet of Things is your car is probably on the internet and telling your manufacturer of your car all sorts of statistics about your car. Your mobile devices, yes. I mean here, in the U.S. we still have brick and mortar banks, but increasingly we're finding that a lot of the banks they would do these acquisitions and they'd have these great footprints, and now they're realizing, yeah, that's just going to be an ATM now, and that's all that we'll keep the location, and there's an ATM in front of it, and that's it. So and people are just doing mobile technologies, and they're using different payment systems, Venmo, PayPal, Zelle, etc., to exchange money. So now you're seeing that mobile just really permeate our lives.
Yeah.
That you don't have to go to a fixed location. You don't have to hand you don't have to hand paper or metal currency to somebody. You just hit a few buttons and poof, it's there.
Yeah. And there's a lot of stories in the American press about Zelle and some of the scams that people are running that illustrate one aspect of cybersecurity, which is the human aspect. So that's one of the things that we talk about in our course. We talk about cybersecurity skills leading to careers, and what kinds of careers are those? So you can be a specialist in the infrastructure of security. You can specialist looking at security aspects of networks and cloud. Um, you can look at security of applications. You can look at um, threats and trying to find the threats. You can be blue or red team members looking at penetration techniques and how to defend against them. You can look at um, different types of malware and how to detect and defend. And also, you can go into developing the cybersecurity tools themselves. So, um, uh, what are some of the other things that might touch on here, Bill?
Well, it's interesting. I'm looking at the Q&A as we go through this, and I every so often I look at this. I go, "Wow, it's almost like this person knew the question was coming up. Are there a mix of technical and non-technical roles?" And the answer to that question, yes, there are. You do need to understand some of the technology. You don't necessarily need to be a developer if you don't want to, but you need to understand how the development lifecycle works, and that's what we do in our courses is you'll be acclimated, I think is the right word I'm wanting to use here, to the technical, and we will show you these different attack methods and things of that sort. Uh, and and then if you are doing like a risk assessment, which is a non-technical role, if anything, risk assessments, governance, risk, and compliance, they start talking about more supporting the business, understanding the business sense. So you have to understand the threats, of course, and then you can say, well, how does this affect the business? And so I think to your question there, Stuart, yes, there are some other roles that people start looking into, like they become a BISO, or they become a director of privacy and security, or the CISO is sort of sometimes held up as the top one. But if you find a role you like, and and some people, they just like writing documentation. And if that's if and, I joked with someone just this morning about writing documentation. Well, we should have documentation, and that's what the auditors look for, is documentation. But if you like writing documentation, that could be your role.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots, there's lots of technical and non-technical. Um, and I'll answer the other question I see actually in a little bit. So I
Okay.
think
All right.
we're going to keep an eye on that chat box though. Please keep those questions coming, because it
Yeah.
it serves as a reminder for me when we go into the LMS. Oh, let me point that out to you.
Perfect. And so that leads kind of the bridging question here, the bridging slide here is between the careers and the LMS, the learning management system. What are the skills that you're going to learn? You need to learn a suite of skills in order to be a well-rounded cybersecurity practitioner. Infrastructure security, application security, elements of cryptography. Um, Everybody gets excited about ethical hacking and threat hunting. There's also malware and ransomware analysis, uh, application penetration testing, um, and this is just a sampling of the various skills, and there's also various tools that you need to learn. So in order to be able um, to take on roles in cybersecurity and build a career that you can take to different levels, it's great to have a well-rounded background of this type. Um, Comments on that, Bill? Oh, for some reason, your microphone is muted.
Yes, I was
There.
double muted. That was a saying we didn't say 2 years ago. Oh,
Yeah,
you're
you're
muted.
double muted.
Double muted. The yeah, as far as having a relevant skill set, absolutely. And I think one of the best examples, I was teaching a class recently, and someone asked me, "Oh, if I'm going to do this role, do I need to understand about penetration testing?" I say, "Well, you don't have to do the penetration test, but one of the greatest things in the world is I was on the phone with a colleague, someone I knew for years, and we would consider ourselves friends to a degree." And this person said, "Hey, how come you haven't considered our RFP yet?" And I said, "Well, I did consider your RFP, but the problem was it doesn't have what I needed it." And he says, "Well, what do you mean? We've always done it before." And it was something where I had stepped into a role and I was taking over. And I said, "I'm sorry, I know what's required of what I want from a test, and I'm more than happy to look at another proposal."
Yeah.
And so by understanding what was possible, I could, even in my role at that time, I didn't have to do the test. I was bringing in a vendor to do that test. I needed to know what I wanted in that test and what was possible in that test, to get the client, the organization, what they needed. They needed a proper web application penetration test and code review. And even though I wasn't going to do the code review, I still had to know what was involved.
Yep, exactly. So we have a poll for the audience, and if you are watching on streaming, you can put your answer into the comment or chat. I'll start this up for the WebEx audience here. And presumably you're all here today because you're interested in becoming a cybersecurity expert. What has stopped you from enrolling in a training program up to now? So we have a few reasons. You can pick 1, 2, 3, or 4. Because you can't find a program that covers all of the types of skills and tools that we just talked about? Is it because you don't feel confident that you're going to get the kind of experience that you can point to when you go out and look for a position in the industry? Is it because learning from pre-recorded videos just doesn't work for you? Or is it a timing and schedule constraint? So let me share the result with you. And 60% of our audience, the only real significant objection that people have talked about here is they don't have the practical experience. They don't feel like they're going to get something they can point to that backs up their claim to be an expert. So let's talk about this program, the UCI Cybersecurity Bootcamp, and how it allows you to overcome that. So it is a comprehensive curriculum. It has an industry-aligned learning path so that the courses take you through the sets of skills that companies need. The CI Division of Continuing Education works with industry and gets their feedback on what they're looking for in terms of people who complete these programs. It's a 6-month program. We say you should probably plan to spend 10 to 15 hours a week actually on this program because there are weekend classes, 2 4-hour sessions every weekend. You need to show up to more than 70% of those in order to be credited with attendance. And so you have to make that commitment. You also have to commit to doing the other projects and labs during the week. You can do those on a 24/7 schedule because of the learning management platform. So this is a flexible program that allows you to do the work on your time. The one fixed time requirement is that weekend class schedule. Integrated case studies and hands-on projects that you do within the platform so you don't have to acquire other systems or tools, download anything. You're able to do that on the learning management system itself. And results of those projects can go into your Git portfolio to show off. And then online live virtual classrooms. One of the key differences, in this program is that you are learning from instructors like Bill Bailey. You're interacting with them live during the class sections. Have the ability to ask them questions in between, get answers during the week. And you're able to interact with your peers as well. So you are not learning by yourself on your own from pre-recorded material. Yes, there is pre-recorded material in the class to get you prepared for each class session, but the real learning happens facilitated by instructors. At the end of the program, you've earned a certificate from UC Irvine that attests to the fact that you have completed the core courses successfully and that you completed a capstone project that demonstrates your mastery of the material in those courses. So you, along the course of this program, in the 6 months, you'll be doing 35 exercises, 10 or more projects, culminating in a capstone project that ties together all of the skills and tools that you've learned during the 6 months into a demonstration of solving a real world cybersecurity problem. You get to take master classes with instructors from UCI during the 6 month period. They'll be talking about trends in the industry. They'll be talking about technologies and tools. You can earn up to 30 continuing education units. So if you are in a position where your employer requires you to prove that you're taking continuing education, or if you have a professional license that requires you to prove that you take continuing education, this course program offers you up to 30 CEUs. And finally, the Simplilearn Career Service. So we talk about getting into the industry. One of the things that Simplilearn adds to this program is career services that extend for 6 months beyond the end of your certification. So for 6 months after you've earned your certificate, we'll be helping you with job search, resume rewriting, interview prep, and I'll describe that in more detail in a bit. So talk about the program. What's it like, Bill, for you as an instructor when you're conducting classes in this type of program?
Well, conducting a class in this program, uh, it's a different experience than some classes I've taught where, this is not a, it's not a boot camp. It's not come in for 1 week and we'll see you, so you start on Monday and we'll see you on Saturday and that's the last we ever see you. We're spending those months together. And everybody is working in some capacity in cybersecurity. So you get to see people going through the whole program over those months. And you're actually, with the certificate program, you're actually making a difference in someone's, career, not just the job.
Yep. And you touched on something very important when you said this is not a boot camp. So we call it a boot camp because um, it requires intensive, immersive education, but it doesn't work like the traditional boot camps that came into existence in the last decade or so. You don't have to show up in some strange city and be locked in a classroom for 8 hours a day for a week, um, and try to absorb everything in that period of time. This is a program that gives you more flexible schedule and doesn't require you to travel anywhere. You can access the materials um, from any web browser. You want to do the programming exercises on a desktop or laptop because you'll need the screen real estate to see the code. But for pre-recorded videos, for example, in preparation and other materials, or to catch up on a recorded class that you might have missed, you can certainly do that on a mobile device. So um, again, you don't get locked in a room. Instead, you get the freedom to live your life as you now do, and just fit in the learning on a time schedule that meets your needs, fits your lifestyle. So that's why we talk about the digital boot camp as something fundamentally different from the boot camp that Bill referred to. I'm going to talk a little bit about the advantage of UC Irvine. As most of you should know, the University of California system is the premier public education post-secondary system in the world. It consists of, at this point, I think 13 campuses. The University of California, Irvine is known for its technology education, and it's a center of teaching and research in technology. It has produced several Nobel laureates, also people in other fields who have won things like the Pulitzer Prize. And it is well recognized, well known as a leading university in the technology field. So when people see that on your resume, they will recognize that your training came from a top-notch institution. So we like to mention that. We talk about eligibility for this program. This program is very open and do not require a bachelor's degree, a high school diploma or equivalent, must be at least 18 years of age to engage in the program. There is no minimum work experience required, although work experience is always desirable for these programs because it gives you an idea of how this technology, these skills fit into a working world. So if you do have work experience, that's a plus. You do not have to have a programming background. You will learn programming tools and skills in the program. We have courses that you can take if you need to brush up or get fundamentals. So you can add those to make sure that you're up to speed with whatever you need to know for this program, but you don't have to come in with a programming background. So this is, we're very proud that this is such an open program that it allows people at the beginning of their career to get into cybersecurity, but it's also a comprehensive enough program that if you are an experienced technology professional, want to pivot into cybersecurity or add those skills to the area that you're in, this is also a great program for that. So let's ask a second poll question, if I may. Poll question is, how much experience do you have? Just like to get a feel for who's in our audience today. Pardon me for my rough voice here.
Just something while folks are answering that poll question, how many years of experience do you have? Do you have cybersecurity experience? Do you have technology experience? Have you been supporting technology systems, even though you didn't think of it as cybersecurity? Because there is sort of that crosswalk that I myself did many years ago. I started as that technology person, and then somehow I realized, oh, there's this security aspect of all these systems.
Yep.
But you can also come from the business because you understand how that technology supports the business
Right.
because you're
Right.
using it in your data, and now you're seeing it through a different lens.
Yeah, that's very important. If you're a manager of a particular business area and you want to understand what cybersecurity tools can be support that area and defend that area, this is a great program for that. So it's a very stark split. 55% of the folks in the audience today have less than 2 years of experience, but more than a third have more than 10 years of experience, and kind of very few in between. So, but it's always interesting to see that distribution. As I mentioned, this program addresses both ends of that spectrum. So this is where I am going to stop sharing my screen and allow Bill to take us through the learning management system on a very brief tour of capabilities of that system. So let me transfer control to him. You have the presenter privilege.
Yes, I do. And let me share here, and hopefully you're now seeing my screen.
We are. So I'm going to mute myself.
Okay. All right. All right. So a few things, when you come into this, and I'm keeping a couple questions I saw in mind as I walk through this. Uh, I've already logged into the lms.simplylearn.com. So I come to this screen here, and you heard me say this is not a week long course. A lot of these the certification programs you're used to, you go in and you have access to for like a week, and you get to the end of that week and you go take an exam and that's it. The postgraduate program in cybersecurity, as an example of one that I've selected here, when I look at this here, it's a series of courses that are all related together to form a curriculum, and so that one makes it different right off the bat. And when you go into that program, you have the prerequisites. These are courses that if you're new to technology, if you're unfamiliar with technology or cybersecurity, you can take these. So I think one of the questions I saw asked, how much do I need to know about networking? And so one of the prerequisites that we have that you can complete is this CompTIA Network Plus. That is self-paced learning. You notice that these two prerequisites, they're self-paced. So you can get the prerequisites right here at your own pace. Prior to sitting in your first class, or if you say you're starting a live class on X date, that you could sit that first class, and then in between those, because remember it's Monday. I'm sorry, not Monday through Friday. It's Saturday, Sunday. So after your weekend sessions, you have a little bit of time during the week. You can go back and catch up on some of these prerequisites, and they are going to be broken down into topic areas. So if you have a question about something, you could actually go in and say, well, I want to learn more about cryptography, and you would look at the cybersecurity course and you'd see a drop down for that topic. The courses that you have, like in this program here, we start with an introduction and we go through a series of these individual classes here. You notice that the live classes right now, I have great fields here. It's a mix of self-learning and live classes. It is all online through it's a platform similar to this. I know we're actually transitioning to Zoom in a lot of cases because it allows actually better interactivity than WebEx. But you can take it from virtually anywhere, and that's why we have that. And as Stuart mentioned, there is a capstone project that is part of the program. And yes, you need to actually check these boxes in order to get your certificate at the end. But that being said, in an individual course, and I just happen to be in one about securing applications, I popped in here. Yeah, even the course has a project, right? And you have to complete. In this case, you have to complete the self-paced learning or the live classes, and there's an assessment at the end of the course that leads you to this certificate. And then you could either put this on your LinkedIn profile, or you could download that, print it, and so forth. So each step along the way, you're getting that uh, achievement. And this one, the build a hacker mindset and defend against future attacks, we actually take you through everything you need to become a certified ethical hacker if you choose to, which is really great. Someone said, can you tell me about all the threats that are out there? And there are frameworks that'll give you a list of threats. And in this class, you'll notice this is covered in our live virtual class because this is using the latest whatever's in today's news. So we could be talking about an Uber breach that was a social engineering, attacked a service provider of Uber, and then and Uber what ended up being the target, but they went through someone else to get there. So we talk about that in the live class. We talk about the current events, and again, it has its own certificate. And this is where, this is another one of these courses where, there's an online lab environment that you step through step by step. In the self-paced learning here, like I said, it's broken down based on topic. All right, and there are knowledge checks with the self-paced learning. So you're not just watching a video, you're actually getting a knowledge check at the end of it. There are different reference documents that are all part of that, so you have something to look at afterwards. And again, I just, this program, back here at the end here, of course, we have electives that you can take as well. So you have a required series of courses, you have electives, and certification at the end. Like I said, you get certificates for your individual courses, and then once you've completed everything, you unlock that certificate. And and you do have access to a community, like a blog forum, if you will, when you're in the program. So you have communication in between those weekend sessions and the next weekend session. And I think I tried to answer a couple questions there. I don't see any other questions specifically about that. So I think
Okay.
I'll hand it back over to Stuart.
Yeah, and I think you've shown something that touches on Anthony's question about getting oriented into the program and understanding what's due and what needs to be done by the next class. The learning management system give you prompts for that. It give you, as you saw, the overview of the classes that are in your program, which one you're engaged in currently, schedule for the live class dates and that type of thing. So Anthony, if you have additional questions about how that works, please raise a support ticket in the learning management system, or you can email me. My email is in the invitation you got for this uh, session today, and I'll make sure that get that question to our team to make sure that you have the support you need. Um, so thank you for that, Bill. That gives you the uh, understanding of how this program works, and talk about. Teresa asked a question: is this a virtual only program, or is there an in-person option? Teresa, yeah, this is a virtual program in the sense that it's delivered entirely online. So there are no physical classrooms for you to go to. Um, but you are going to the virtual classroom in person. So it's not virtual in the sense of massively online courses where you're just watching pre-recorded or non-interactive content. I'm going to talk about the curriculum and how it builds up in a stepwise fashion. And as you saw in Bill's presentation, there is a set of tick boxes for the different courses. You have to tick them all, but you have to tick them in sequence. So you start off with an orientation session, which is basically just here's how to use the LMS, here's what you should expect. For that, you move into your first module, which is Enterprise Infrastructure Security. That gives you a basic foundational overview. And then you move into application and web application security, which goes into the specifics of how you protect against threats to a particular application. Ransomware and malware analysis is the next one, and then finally ethical hacking. That takes you up to your capstone project. So once you finish these 4 core courses, you should have the tools and skills available to do the final capstone, which is a 3 to 4 week project that you do under the mentorship of an instructor. You meet with your instructor weekly to go over your progress and make sure you're not hitting any dead ends. And we'll talk about the capstone in a little more detail later. But along the way, you get to take the master classes with the UCI instructors. And these are electives, so you don't have to take them, but you take as many as your schedule and interests permit. And then, as I mentioned, they'll talk about emerging cybersecurity threats, emerging technologies, what the industry requires, things like that that'll get you better oriented into the field. So that's we think the electives are an important part of the project or the program as well. There's a whole bunch of different tools that you'll be exposed to, that you'll get a chance to use. Do you have any comments on this list here, Bill?
It's a great definitely when we look at the ethical hacking and penetration testing, vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, a long title there. Yeah, we look at all of these different tools. We look at Kali. We also look at Parrot. We look at other tools that are out there. I know sometimes we have we'll walk you through a very safe lab environment that shows you step by step how to use these tools, like reading a recipe, like a cookbook recipe. But then we also talk about how to set up your own virtual lab if you want to, because if you want to go outside and you're motivated, we also make sure that you know how to go get these tools on your own. Oftentimes you download them, set up virtual environments, and that can be a way of getting additional hands-on experience.
Excellent. The goal is that you build up a portfolio of projects that you can show to future employers and answer that concern about, I'm not confident that I can show that I have real experience in the field. Well, the various projects, and especially the Capstone project, allows you to point to something that says, here is a problem that I was posed. This is a problem that um, is a real world industry related problem, and I chose to solve this. And this is the way I built the solution. Here's how I designed it. Here's how I implemented it. Again, it shows that you have mastery all over the concepts and skills that you learned in the boot camp. It shows that you're capable of doing the work in a real world type of environment, meeting the requirements um, meeting the requirements of the industry. And it's very rigorous in nature. You have to do the project and be successful at it in order to earn the final certificate for the program. So this is why we uh, have you work with your instructor to make sure that you're on track and don't get uh, lost in any rabbit holes or dead ends along the way. So we think this is highly valuable, and it's something that you could take away from the program and show to folks. Our program advisor from the university is Julie Pye, the Assistant Director of Technology Programs. She works with us at Simplilearn to make sure our curriculum uh, matches the UCI's requirements and arranges for the master classes. So we're working directly under the oversight of Dr. Pye. So we're very pleased um, that this is a UCI program and not just a Simplilearn program with a UCI label stuck on it. Talk a little bit about some learner outcomes, and we'll talk about the ideal candidates for the program. We talked about people who can come in from a non-technical background or from a high school diploma background and wanting to get into cybersecurity, whether you're a technology oriented person or non-technical. Working professionals in technology who want to add cybersecurity to their toolkit. And then Bill and I have mentioned managers who are in various business areas who need to understand how to manage the cybersecurity threat environment. So we talked about or mentioned the Career Assist service from Simplilearn. So again, throughout the program and for 6 months thereafter, you have access to a number of different aspects of our services that help you get that next job or move up in your career. Um, Certainly, we offer ongoing, continuing free educational events and career educational events. Uh, the projects, of course, as we talked about, build up your portfolio. And we have a partnership with Talent Inc. which provides specific services to help you land that next job or promotion. So one is the access to their job portal, which allows you to confidentially search for certain key jobs that they available through their employer network. Um, Sometimes when you put a resume out on a platform like Indeed or Dice, your current employer can see it. Even if you tell the platform that you don't want them to see it, sometimes that kind of just leaks. Um, that doesn't happen with the Resume Rabbit portal. Keep it much more confidential. Uh, Resume review and rewrite service extremely critical in today's day and age because resumes end up being seen before they get seen by any human being. And they go through an AI bot process that looks for the key information matches with the job description and understanding how to format your resume, how to word your resume so that it can pass that process, get to a human evaluator, but still looks like a resume written for human beings is an important skill, important art. And so the service allows you to go through a couple of rounds of resume rewriting to get your resume into the best shape for that process. And then finally, one-on-one interview service, which is important for everybody because you're always going to be interacting, whether you're looking for a first job, a new job, or a promotion in your company. You're going to have to go through several rounds of interviews with people about technology understanding, about your soft skills, about your cultural fit with the team. And that requires you to be able to put your best foot forward when you're interacting with people one on one. So, um, this aspect of the service allows you to practice interviews of different types with an interview preparer and matter expert who can help you probe deeply and be ready for those questions that will come up in interviews. So these are all really valuable services. Again, for 6 months after you earn your certificate, you have access to those. You always have access to the webinars that we do on an ongoing basis. Um, do one or two a week at least of webinars that cover the industry topics, cover technology, sometimes master classes where an instructor will go through a topic and take you through a virtual lesson, um, how to conduct your job search, how to care and feed for your career. All of these are free resources that we make available to you so that um, you can keep this career development going on an ongoing basis. And um, so we have a question. This is a pretty straightforward question. Based on what you heard today, are you interested in enrolling in the Cybersecurity Bootcamp? And we'll give you about 20 seconds to answer the question. Now, it's a very simple question, but sometimes it takes a minute to find the right button again.
Yeah, I think I saw a question came up a couple times. This is not an internship. It's a training program that sets you up for a career in cybersecurity, and with the goal being that instead of an internship, that at the end you would actually, with the career services assistance, that you would actually be getting a job. That you would demonstrate your capstone project, and then you could say, oh, this is a real world project that I've completed, and go right into a role rather than hopefully not have to do that internship.
Exactly. So we don't guarantee that you'll get a job from the program, but we do everything that we can to help you uh, do that. The result of the poll, 97% of you said that you're interested in enrolling in the program. So allow me to share with you how to do that. enrollment steps are really straightforward. I mean, you start off by emailing us at askus@simplylearn.net. They'll tell you how to get an application started. They'll tell you what you need to submit as any documentation of, for example, your high school diploma and age and any other background. Do an application review, assess your qualifications, your aptitude for the program, make sure that this is something that you'll succeed at. We don't want to enroll you uh, with the idea that, yeah, this is something I might want to try, but I'm not really sure. We want to make sure the people who enroll are committed to spending the time because it is an important commitment and we want people to be successful and happy done with the process. So you'll get an admission letter once you pass that application review. And the next cohort starts October 13th with a welcome session. The actual classes start on November 12th. The program fee is $8,000 US. This is a US based program. So this is going to be same price no matter where you are when you enroll for the UCI Cybersecurity Bootcamp. Do no interest financing for as low as $704 a month. And you can ask your employer about tuition reimbursement. If this is something that you're going to apply in your current work, your employer may in fact have a reimbursement program that will repay you for your fees once you complete the program, or sometimes even pay the fees up front for you. So you need to ask that question of your employer to see what their policies are. I can say that because you are here today, there is an incentive for joining that October 13th. That's why this flashing act now is there. So if you email us at askus@simplylearn.net, you can inquire what that incentive is. You'll find out that you get a discount off of the program fees as a gift for being here at today's live session. So, but this applies if you join the October 13th cohort only. So with that, we can move into questions and answers. Again, I don't need to have you staring at this slide while we're doing that. And I know that, Bill, you have answered a number of the questions so far. So let's take a look at some of the new ones that have come in. Abu Bakar is pursuing a Bachelor's of Science in Information Technology. So what are some of the ways a program like this, certification program like this, could help him? Oh, you've double muted yourself again.
Bachelor's of Science in Information Technology. Uh, when I read that, there's so many degree programs out there, and sometimes they take a developer type of slant to them. And where this would be a certificate that would demonstrate that you've actually gotten the specialization in cybersecurity. The other benefit, and I'll kind of tie a couple other questions together, is the prerequisite that was optional. Gears you for CompTIA's Network Plus exam. I believe one, and I forget which course it is, really gives you the framework to be Security Plus certified. And we have the ethical hacking course, which is the certified ethical hacker. And those are all great certifications by their own right, and so that's an added bonus. You're getting a certificate for the program, and you're getting the knowledge to attain other certifications. And someone had said in another question says, can I get a cybersecurity role with just the Security Plus? You could get a role with Security Plus certification, and what this program would do would be to try to take you to the next level, because like that ethical hacking takes the concepts of Security Plus and ramps them up quite a bit and teaches you how to be more aggressive uh, and but ethical at the same time.
Interesting question from Masood. Can Iranians participate in the boot camp? Is there a chance for Iranians to get a cybersecurity job in the United States? And I can say, Simplilearn is a company based in India. You would have to check probably on one of our other programs. This is probably not a program that you would be able to, this particular UCI program, in conjunction with an American university, is probably not open to Iranian nationals enrolling from Iran. We have other cybersecurity programs from Simplilearn, however, that are targeted at people outside of the US, and you might want to check to see if any of those are open to Iranian nationals. Again, Simplilearn is an Indian headquartered company. Its policies may be different from US-based companies on participation of folks in Iran. G2 has passed, in your U2 audience, he's passed 12, so I assume that's a high school diploma. And what path can he take now for a cybersecurity career? He wants ultimately to become a CISO.
Well, that's one of the things that, as a CISO, I always have to double check to make sure I didn't mute myself.
Yeah, you're
Uh,
fine.
the CISO is a career objective for many people, that they want to be. When I grow up, I want to be a CISO. I want to be fired the next time there's a breach, and I laugh a little when I say that, but sometimes CISO gets used as a scapegoat. But you have to have the understanding of Network Plus, Security Plus, the Certified Ethical Hacker, the penetration testing. You have to understand what the developers are doing and things of that sort. And I'll sort of wrap up a couple questions I'm seeing here that are related. Is we prepare you along the way, and as I mentioned, a lot of these courses have direct like certifications that you could attempt. We don't guarantee that you'll pass those exams because the only things we can guarantee in life are death and taxes. We do everything we can to prepare you for them. They're not included. The certification exams are not included, to the best of my knowledge. Although I will say, from my own personal experience, it was some of the best money I ever spent as I was going through my career, was to pull my own credit card and to plunk down the cash to take that exam. Whether I got reimbursement or not, to get me where I wanted to be in my cybersecurity career.
A question from a Naga asks about procedures for Indians, and what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to put into the chat the link both for the email address, askus@simplilearn.net, and also the link to the program page. And if you are not in the United States, you may come up with a slightly different page, or the page may not show you all of the options because it's localized. This is a program generally designed for folks in the US. However, from that page, you can navigate to our other cybersecurity programs that may be available in your local country. So for our non-US users, it's worth going to that page as well. And as an Indian company, as I mentioned, we have uh, lots of training opportunities for folks who are in India. Brian asked a great question. Are there project and program management opportunities that have an emphasis on cybersecurity?
Absolutely. But I've talked to a few people over the last couple months, and they were project manager, program manager type of roles. But I talked with a colleague, and they were looking for someone who was going to help them with the security of their development lifecycle.
Okay. Um, you had mentioned documentation as a career path, and John Young asked, my understanding is documentation writing is done by teams who author corporate cybersecurity policies. Collecting and presenting documentation to auditors in the form of proofs is done by the cybersecurity teams. So can you comment and clarify on that? Is there a divide between the policy documentation and the auditing documentation?
Well, is there a divide well, there's definitely a divide into who's preparing it, and the audience that it's for, and the criteria that goes into it. And I saw that question come from John. There are policies that you see come from up high, and that's your governance, your risk, and your compliance. You've got senior management who will enact a policy, and then, but everybody in the organization, if you're developing a system, you should be documenting the development of the system. comments and source code, things of that sort. When you are coming up with an architecture, you should be documenting all the security requirements. And part of that documentation are the threats that are in there. And we might say it's a privacy threat assessment or privacy impact assessment. We have a lot of alphabet soup out there. And that's where the whole information technology and information security and your project management teams, they're making sure that the documentation is created so that the end users can actually use it because it's more than just policies. And when we talk about enterprise information security, I believe that's we talk about the difference between policies, procedures, and baselines and guidelines. And, we have auditors, and we have both internal auditors and external auditors. And it's funny, we're talking, UC Irvine and California has several privacy privacy laws in place. So you may have your state looking at your organization also. And so like you start and you say, okay, I'm going to have this system. I'm going to have this documentation about the system, and I'm going to have processes that are going to gather documentation about that system, or statistics about the system, so that when I do have to talk to the auditor or the regulator or the examiner, whatever it may be, it really, that documentation is a complete life cycle. And it's not just senior management, and it's not just auditors. Everybody gets involved with it in their own way.
Alpha asks a question. I think this will be an exit question. Candidates in Canada, how much are the fees for them? And it will be $8,000 US. The fee for this program is fixed at that. It is available to folks in Canada, North America, Latin America. It's not really targeted at folks on the other side of the world, Europe, Africa, Middle East, Asia. We have other programs that are targeted to that audience. So we focus our efforts here, although you can enroll from anywhere. We focus this program on a U.S. audience and North American, Latin American audience as well. I will say for the folks in Canada, unfortunately, our career services may not be available to you because those are specific to the United States. So you may have that may be one aspect of the program that's not open to you. But again, it's a fixed same fee wherever you are, $8,000 US. Do email us at askus@simplylearn.net, and I put that into the chat and question and answer box to ask about the incentive for joining the program cohort that starts on October 13th. With that, I'm going to ask one last question. This last question of the audience is, if this is something that you want to get involved in, if you want to enroll in this program, when do you want to do it? Do you want to get into that October 13th cohort? Possibly get the take advantage of the discount? Is it something that you look to do somewhere further down the road? We always say that if it's going to change your career and life for the better, worth doing now. That's always a personal decision, but I'm about 2 more seconds. I'll share with you the result. So the poll results. A little more than a third of the audience want to get involved right away. So please do email askus@simplylearn.net right after this program and ask that question, find out how to get started. Within 3 months, let us a little less than a third. So yeah, we do have other cohorts, and you can actually see on the program page the date of the one after the October 13th. Folks who are looking 6 months or more than 6 months out, you can ask us@simplylearn.net what the future cohort dates might be, or wait until you're closer to being ready. But we will be here. The UCI program will be here, and we'll be ready to help you. So with that, I'd like to thank Bill for being here and taking us through the program, but also helping us with his expert knowledge of the industry and his experience. So thank you very much, Bill.
Well, thank you. I look
And
forward to seeing folks join a cohort.
great. And I I do the same. I hope we can welcome you into the UCI learning community with Simplilearn, and thank you all for being here today. So with that, we'll conclude our webinar.